Hello and welcome to our Canvas Top 10 presentation. This video is not going to show you how to use Canvas. Rather, it's a compilation of SRJC Distance Education's favourite Canvas tips. In other words, a highlights reel of clever tricks. Number 10 in our top 10 list are all the tricks that you can do on the dashboard of Canvas. These include reorganizing course cards, creating course nicknames, identifying favorite courses, and changing course images. So let's show you those top 10 dashboard tricks. Here we are on a typical Canvas dashboard. You can see that there are various cards that represent the courses in Canvas that you might teach. Now, did you know that you can move the cards around? You can literally grab a card and move it. So if you want to rearrange your cards and put this semester's cards at the top, all you have to do is click on the card and drag it upwards. So that's how you reorganize the cards on your dashboard. Now, sometimes the names of our courses are pretty obscure, and it's very nice to have a nickname or rename the course. And that's very easy to do. Go to the three dots at the top of the course card, click on them, and then type in a new nickname. And click Apply. So now you see the name has changed from what it was originally. And this is very useful if you want to identify your courses by the semester in which they're offered. For example, we have S23, Spring 23, and F22, Fall 22 here. Now you might be wondering how to get rid of some of the cards that appear on your dashboard. Perhaps you taught the class last semester and you don't want to see it anymore. Here's a course I taught last semester and I don't need that to be visible anymore on my dashboard. This is what you need to do. Click on Courses and scroll down to All Courses. Once you've clicked on All Courses, you'll see a list of all the courses that you have access to. Notice that some of the stars are open stars and some of them are filled in. The filled in stars are the ones that appear on your dashboard. In order to get rid of those, you just click on the star, like so. And notice now there is no color filling the star. Okay, let's go back to the dashboard again. I'm going to refresh my screen. And now if you look, you can see that the course that I unfavorited by unclicking the star went away. Now you might be wondering how you get these pretty images onto your course cards. Those images are very useful for students to identify a specific course and also probably helpful for you too. The way you change a course image on a card is to go into the course. I'm going to click on this course right here. And once I'm in the course, I'm going to go down to Settings. When the Course Details tab is selected, I get this option to choose an image. I can click on that Choose Image icon in order to upload an image for my course. One thing to be aware of is the dimensions of this area. You need to look for a rectangular, landscape-oriented photo. Let me show you where you can find some useful photos. There is a great free site called Unsplash, and you can search for high-resolution images that are copyright free. So I'm going to type in the word Earth here. I'm going to look for a nice Earth image. Perhaps this one would be a nice one to add for my course. You probably want a simple image that is striking and stands out. So all I do now is click on the image and click Download. Okay, back in Course Details, I'm going to click on the word Choose Image, click on Upload Image, and now select the image that I downloaded from Unsplash. And now I have an image. There's one important step you have to take. Don't forget to click Update Course Details at the bottom. Now if we go back to the dashboard and I refresh the page, you'll see that now my course has an image attached to the card. So that is tip number 10, our dashboard tricks. Let's move on now and look at tip number 9. So number 9 is module magic. I'm going to show you how to insert text headers in a module, move modules within a course, and copy modules to another course. So let's get back to our Canvas course again. I'm going to go to Modules in the navigation. And here are our modules. Now if you look at this module right here, the Canvas Top 10 module, you'll see that as a student, if I'm looking at this, it's very disorganized. I have an introduction, and then a discussion, 2 lecture pages, and another assignment. Now there must be a better way to help the students understand this module. One thing I'll do right away is to move the 2 assignments together. But the next thing I'm going to do is add what we call text headers. In order to do that, I'll go up to the plus sign at the top of the module and click on it. It defaults to assignment, but I'm going to select text header. And on that header, I'm going to type in this week's lecture pages and add the item. Now perhaps you don't realize this, but every time you add an item to a module, it lands at the bottom. You can click on the little dots at the edge to move that item up. All right, but I can see that this is still confusing to the students because they don't know the difference between the lecture pages and the assignments. I'm going to add another text header and I'm going to say this week's assignments. And again, I'm going to drag this up. It also helps to have the materials in the modules be indented under the text headers. Notice that assignment 1 is not indented. I can click on the 3 dots at the end and select Increase Indent. Now, doesn't that look better? This is much easier for a student to understand. Another situation you might encounter is that you might want to move modules around within your course. Now, if you have a lot of modules, as in this case, that's such a nuisance. If it's just one module, of course, you can just grab the edges of the module here and move it. But if it's a long distance that you have to move, there is a quicker way to do that. So let's say I want to put this module at the top. I can click on the 3 dots in the header of the module and select Move Module. Now it gives me various options. Canvas lets me move it to the top, to the bottom, or before or after a specified module. I'm going to pick at the top here and click Move. Now notice that module 0 is moved to the top of the page. This is a great way to move modules around quickly and so much easier than dragging them back and forth. But there's one other great thing you can do in Canvas, and that is to copy an entire module to a different course. So let's say I want to copy Module Magic. I'm going to click on the 3 dots at the end of the module in the header. I'm going to select Copy To this time. So remember that Move moves a module within the module page, but Copy To sends it to another course. This feature is very useful if you want to reuse material from one course in another course of yours. Now you can select the courses by typing in the name of the target course, and it will show a list of courses that you have access to copy to. You can also use the number that's assigned to the course. So just look in the web address for the course when you have it displayed, and then all you have to do is type that number into the search box and it will bring up your target course immediately. So I'm going to copy this module to this course called CS5 Collaboration and click Copy. Now, one thing you should be aware of is that sometimes the copy feature takes a while to appear. Here's the target course I copied the module to. Sometimes you have to refresh the course in order to see the new module. And the module has appeared at the very bottom of the module list for this new course. So that's how you can copy material back and forth. Just remember to be patient and also to refresh and make sure you look at the very bottom of the module page. Now you can also copy individual pages or items in the same way. So for example, I could copy this page to another course as well. So anything that's within a module can be copied to another course. One thing to know about Copy To is that it will only copy to your own courses or courses you have access to. If you want to send materials to another instructor, you can use Send To instead. And that Send To link will appear in the profile of the account of the recipient. Another important thing to know about Copy To is that it will replace in the target course any page or assignment that has the same name. So that's the end of Module Magic. I've shown you how to insert text headers, move modules, and copy modules. Let's move on to something else. This is tip number 8, perfect pages. I'll show you how to create headings and colors, lines and separators, and also links to course content within a page. So let's get started on perfect pages. First, let's start with a perfect page. This page demonstrates how you can use color and heading sizes and separator lines to make a page more understandable to your students. So we have a large heading and then separator lines. And if you go down here, we have a smaller heading with even smaller subheadings and bulleted items. Now this page demonstrates the importance of formatting for making your content understandable. So let me show you how we would go about formatting a page to make it look more like this. Here's a page that completely lacks any formatting. So let's start with adding headings and colors to this page. I'm going to click Edit to edit the page. The first thing to do is to add a heading hierarchy. Now this is very important for screen readers and accessibility. I'm going to highlight the first heading here, heading 2, which would be the largest heading on the page, and click on the word paragraph and select heading 2. Now you can see that this heading has now become much larger in size and is tagged as a heading 2. I can go ahead and also tag heading 3 in each case. And you can see already that this page is developing a better structure. This is a heading 4. But still, it's very hard to distinguish, and color would really help out this information. To add color, all I have to do is click on the down arrow next to the A. I can select from a variety of pre-installed colors, or I can click on the custom color palette in the corner. One important thing is to make sure that you select contrasting colors. So don't pick yellow as a heading color. This strong red would be a much better choice. If I want to make the heading 3 contrast with a heading 2, it's a good idea to use a different color. I'm going to highlight heading 3, click on the down arrow, and this time I will select the palette instead. I'm thinking maybe a blue color would be good, but again I need a dark blue color to contrast with the background. And I'll click Save. Now you might notice that the A has the blue color associated with it. So if I select this heading, I can just click on the A to select the same color. And how about a different color again for the sub-heading? That would be a heading 4. Perhaps I could pick a new color from the palette. How about some orange color? I'll select that. Now this one might actually not contrast enough. So let's go in again and select a new color. Something that is darker, maybe this color. Okay, so you can see now that I have a heading hierarchy. And this makes it much easier for students to understand the content. It's very important to break up your content into chunks so that students are able to take it in quickly and easily. Another thing I can do is to separate my headings by adding lines between them. I could click on the left edge of the first heading 3, select Insert, Horizontal Line. And again, I could do the same thing with this one. Do you see now how much clearer this page is than it was before? Also notice that here I have a bulleted list. This makes instructions and content much easier for students to understand. Lastly, I was going to show you how to link to a page. So all I have to do if I want to link to a course page is to highlight the words that I want to link to the page by doing this, and then clicking on the link icon right here and selecting Course Link. And now if I select a page, I can click on the page that I want to display as a link. And now you see this is hyperlinked. There is another method of doing this, which is to just click on the down arrow, click on the course link, and select the page. One of the problems with doing this is that you end up with the name of the page itself, rather than having text that might explain what the page is. All right, so we've looked a little bit at hierarchy and adding color to a page and line separators, and also links to course content. So that is perfect pages. Let's move on to tip number 7. Tip number 7 is all about embedding videos. Now, there are certain tricks that you can use to embed a video that makes it much easier for students to watch. Let's look at 2 ways you can embed videos into a Canvas page. First, you'll want to go to your video and capture the link for the video. You would do that by clicking the Share button and copying the link. That link is now copied to my computer clipboard. So let's go back to the video page and insert that link. I'm going to click Edit, click, and paste. Now the link is not active yet and will only be active when I press the return key. Oh, let's have a look at what that link looks like. Do you notice how small the video frame is? This will require the students to display the video in a new page or at full size. But there's a better way to do this that embeds a much larger video frame into the page. Let me show you how you do that. You click Edit, and I'm going to click in this area down here, and I'm going to look for what looks like a plug and press the down arrow and select Public Resources. You might see that there are various places you can search for videos or other materials. You can click on the YouTube link, for example, and use a search to look for YouTube videos. I actually prefer to find the video first and then just use this tool to embed it. So I'm going to paste in the link to the video and press return. And now you might notice that I have the video that I want to include in the course. I can now click the Embed button to embed it in the course. And here is my video. Now I can click Save at the bottom, and you'll see the difference between the video that I used a link for and the video I actually embedded. So let's just play the video.
Welcome to SRJC.
Now your students can actually play the video within the Canvas page or assignment. All right, so that was the video tip. I showed you what types of videos you can search for and also how to embed one in a page. Okay, so let's move on. I think we are at tip number 6 now in the top 10. Inspiring images. In this tip, I will show you how to find and upload images, resize images in Canvas, and also make your images accessible using either a decorative image tag or alt text. So let's go and have a look at some images. There's nothing better than an interesting image to brighten up your page. But the question is, how do you find these great images? You can look at this page, which is an end of unit example, and see that we have an appropriate image which is sort of celebrating completing a week of class. The image really adds to the content of the page. Compare that to this page, which we just formatted, and notice how dull the page looks without an image on it. So let's find an appropriate image for this page. Again, I'm going to go to Unsplash, where I can find high quality images that are also copyright free. Let's type in some search words that might find us a great image. Perhaps a happy group of people. Also think about the dimensions of the image. Often it works better to have a horizontal image rather than a vertical image because it doesn't take up so much vertical screen real estate. I'm going to take this image and I've downloaded that to my computer. Let's go back to the perfect page example and add an image to it. I'm going to click Edit and you press Return here. and I'm going to click on the image icon and select Upload Image. Now I have a choice. I can either upload from my computer, which is this choice, or I can insert a URL or link to an image. The risk of inserting a link to an image is that the link may go away eventually. It's a much safer option to actually upload the image yourself. And click on this, find my image, and open it. Now when I insert the image, I have a few choices if I scroll down below. I have a choice to either describe the image, which is what we call alt text, or tag it as a decorative image. In this case, the image is not serving a purpose of any kind. I would call it decorative, so I'm going to click the decorative checkbox and click Submit. Now you might notice that this image is huge. What I really want to do is make it much smaller. To do that, I just click on the image, and at the end I have some handles that I can drag to make it smaller. Okay, and I'm going to click Save. Now you see how much more engaging this page is once we've added an image to it. So I've shown you inspiring images. I showed you how to find images in Unsplash, resize the images, and also add a decorative tag to them. Let's move on. We're heading down the list here. Number 5. Tip number 5 focuses on accessibility and making your courses accessible to all students. There are several accessibility checkers you can use in Canvas, and they will identify accessibility problems and offer you solutions. So let's have a look at accessibility in Canvas. Here's a Canvas page that has some accessibility problems. Can you see what they might be? One of the first is that there is a lack of hierarchy in the headings. This should be a major heading, but it's much smaller than subsequent headings on the page. In addition, some of the colors do not contrast very well with the background. This orange color is particularly hard to read against the white background. You should always have a strong contrast between all the text on a page and the background of a page. Another accessibility flag is the red semicircle on this image. It has a low accessibility score, so we need to fix these problems. Let's have a look at 2 accessibility tools that you can use to easily fix some problems and make your pages much more accessible to students with disabilities. I'm going to click Edit, and if you look in the top right here, you can see there's an accessibility score associated with this page. I'm going to click on this icon, and the accessibility checker will indicate some of the problems that I have on the page that I can easily fix. So the first problem is insufficient contrast. So I need to change the colors of these 2 headings in order to fix that problem. I'm going to select a darker purple and click Apply. Now for this one, perhaps I need to select this darker brown and click Apply. If I don't like that color, I can always change it as long as it still has plenty of contrast. The next issue indicates there's a problem with the image. So I'm going to click on that, and it tells me that the alternative text is just the file name of the image. It's much better if this image is being used for decoration to click on that and select decoration as the image type. And as soon as I do that, the accessibility checker is very happy. Another issue it's pointing out are concerns about the headings and also about the video. when you use a video in Canvas, be sure that it has correct accessible subtitles and not just auto captioning. Okay, so my page is now at 98%. I've done quite well. Let's see if we can fix the heading problems now. I'm going to select this heading, which should be a heading 2. It's a heading 4, so I'm going to select heading 2. Let's go down here and make this a heading 3. And lastly, this smaller heading should be a heading 4. Now that will make the accessibility checker much happier. Do you notice now that I have 100% as my score on accessibility? There is another way to check accessibility too, and that is using this little man icon down at the bottom underneath the input box. If you click on that, it will give you similar hints as to what is wrong with the accessibility in your page. You can use either of these accessibility checkers to make sure your pages are accessible for your students. So we've had a very quick look at accessibility and fixed some of the common problems. And now you know 2 different tools that can help you identify problems and fix them. Let's move on now to number 4, Artful Announcements. Announcements are a fantastic way for you to share information about the class with your students and also get that information sent to them via email as well. Let's have a look at how announcements work in Canvas and also some clever tricks for creating artful announcements. Announcements live in the navigation and you can choose to hide them or show them. I'll show you how that works in a minute. When you click on announcements, you'll get the choice to create a new announcement or to look at announcements you've already sent to the class. Let's have a quick look at a typical announcement. Here's an announcement that keeps students updated on what's happening in the class. It makes it more interesting if you add an image and use different colors and sizes. Now, one of the useful things to do with announcements is not only to send them out to the class, which is somewhat dependent on whether the students have their notifications set up correctly, but you can also display announcements on the home page. So whenever the students go to the home page, they will see the most recent announcements displayed there. So here's how you do that. Right now, when I click on the home page, I have no announcements visible. So let's fix that problem. You need to go down to Settings, under the Course Details tab, scroll to the very bottom and click this very small, obscure More Options. Click on that, and here's a checkbox that allows you to show recent announcements on the course home page. I'm going to click that checkbox. And now I can show the 3 most recent announcements on my home page. I click Update Course Details to set that. All right, let's go back to the home page now. And now you can see that the 2 announcements that were in the announcements section are now visible on the home page as well. So there's one more thing you can do in announcements that's very useful. In addition to creating an announcement, you can also determine when that announcement is delivered to the class. Let's create an announcement. So here's a brief announcement that I've just created. I'm not going to publish it yet because what I want to do is go down and select Delay Posting. At this point, I can decide when I want to release that particular announcement. This can be very useful if you want to make sure that an announcement gets posted at a particular time. Yeah, just click on the date, select a date when it will be posted, and then click Publish. So here's my announcement, but let's check the home page, and you can see that the announcement I just made has not been published yet, and it won't be published until the release date occurs. So that's a little bit about Artful Announcements. I've shown you how to display announcements on the home page, and I also showed you how to delay announcements so that they get posted at a different time. Let's move on to number 3. Number 3 involves the people, the students in your class. We're going to look at how to keep track of your student attendance and activity, how to view grades and analytics, and also how to message a student. Let's see what kind of people power we can discover. The best way to get to information about your students is to click People. You can see all your students listed in the course. There are ways that you can find out more about how individual students are doing. You can click on their names and check what kind of progress they've made. You can see an overview of their scores. You can see what their participation is in the course. You can also click on these 2 buttons for grades and analytics. Let's have a look at the grades page first. Here I can see a more detailed view of the assignments the student has submitted, any comments I've made, and also whether they've missed an assignment. If I click on Analytics, I can see how the student has been doing in terms of activity, submissions, and grades. So there are several different ways that you can view how your students are doing in a course. You can also use the People page to send a message to your students. I can click on a student name and select the envelope to send a message to that particular student. This message becomes a part of your sent mail in your Canvas inbox. This is a great way to message students quickly, particularly if you're concerned about their grades. Okay, so we've had a little brief overview of how to keep track of your students and their attendance and activities, view their grades, look at some analytics, and also send them a message. Let's see what tip number 2 is. Okay, so this one is a really fantastic tip. This ranked as number 2 of all the tips that we have for you. Deadline Delight. I will show you a way of changing all the assignment dates at once. You can change available from, available until, and also the due date. I'll also show you how to add a due date to a particular page. So traditionally, when you change an assignment date, you will probably go into an assignment, such as this one, click Edit, and then change the date. But what if you have to change a lot of assignment dates? Wouldn't it be nice to do them all at once? Let me show you how that works. Go to Assignments, and this shows you all the assignments that you have in a course. What you want to do is click the 3 dots next to the plus assignment button and select Edit Assignment Dates. Now when you do that, it comes up with a list of all the assignments and all the due dates that are associated with those assignments. So what you can do is now go in globally and change all these dates. For example, I could change the due date for this assignment to April 20th and make it available until April 27th. And I can do that for all these assignments. Another thing you can do is, let's say you want all of them to have the same date. I can copy that date and paste it. And so on. There is one way that you can actually batch edit by selecting a group of assignments and then changing them all at once. It's a little bit complicated, so I'm not going to go into it right now. So once you've changed all the dates that you want to change for your assignments, all you have to do is remember to click Save. And that is one of the quickest ways to change assignment dates all at once. Another thing that's really helpful is to add a page to a to-do list for a student. Most students will see only assignments and quizzes in their to-do list. But what if you want them to read a particular page? You can do that in Canvas. Let me show you how. Let's say you want your students to read an orientation page as the first thing they do in a unit. What you can do is add a date when the students should read that page, and that appears in their to-do list. First thing I'm going to do is edit the page. Underneath all the content of the page, you see this little checkbox. It says Add to Student To Do. I'm going to click on that checkbox, and I'm going to give them a date when they have to do this, and click Save. Now the updated page has been added to the student to-do list. This is extremely useful because it's not just assignments you want them to do. You also want them to read orientation pages and lecture pages, and probably watch video pages too. So that's another really great Canvas trick to know about. So we've just looked at how to change assignment dates all at once, and we've also learned how to add a due date to a page. Are you ready for tip number 1? It's the gradebook. There are so many tricks that you can use to make your life in the gradebook so much easier. Let me show you a few of those fabulous tricks. So let's go to the gradebook. And this is a typical gradebook. There are a few things in the gradebook that you might want to change. In particular, one that often defaults is unpublished assignments. Now, if you get this in your gradebook, all you have to do is go View and uncheck it. Another thing that often bothers instructors is all the extra columns, including one that's often named Imported Assignments. Now the question is, how do you get rid of this column called Imported Assignments? Let me show you how that works. If I go to the Assignments section again, and I scroll down through all these assignments, I'm sorry there are so many assignments here, at the very bottom I find a separate section which is entitled Imported Assignments. Now this section was created when I brought in an assignment from another course using probably copy 2. In order to get rid of the Imported Assignments column in my gradebook, I need to empty this folder. I'm going to drag this up and drop it into the existing assignments folder. I can then go over to the 3 dots and delete this particular folder or group. All right, so that's how you would get rid of an extra column. And now if I refresh my screen, you'll see that the Imported Assignments column is no longer there. But there's more. Did you know that if you click on View, you have the option of using different filters to view your gradebook? I have this set for modules. I can also select one particular module to view at a time. This can be very helpful if you have a lot of assignments in your course. Another thing that might really help you out is to have the names associated with the grades. If you have a really long gradebook, You have to go a long way to actually see how the students are doing in the class. What you can do is scroll over the word total here, and if you click on the 3 dots, you can select Move to Front. I'm going to refresh my gradebook so you can see what happened when I did that. Now the totals are right next to the names. You can also change the totals so that you view grades low to high or high to low. If you click on the 3 dots again, you can sort by grade low to high. That's a great way of seeing how students are doing in the class. Another really useful tool to use is the Notes column. If you click on View, you can select the word Notes, and now you can make notes about each student. Perhaps the student needs extra time. Perhaps the student has contacted you. So the Notes column can be very helpful. So there's one final trick that I want to share with you that is probably the best one of all in the gradebook. And that is the ability to contact students individually or as a group who may not have turned in assignments. You can check with them and find out why they didn't turn the assignment in or ask if they needed help. What you want to do is just mouse over the column until you get the 3 dots, and then click on the 3 dots and select Message Students Who. You can see who's going to receive the message by clicking Show All Recipients. You can then type your message into the box. It will be sent to the student and will appear in your sent mail in the inbox in Canvas. Here are some other things you can do with this Message Students Who. It defaults to the people who have not submitted, but perhaps you want to send a message to the students who scored more than a certain amount or scored less than a certain amount. So this is a fantastic tool for quickly sending messages to one or multiple students and checking with them about their progress or their assignments in a class. And that is probably the #1 trick. So I hope you've enjoyed learning more about the gradebook. I showed you some sorting and filtering tricks. I showed you how to make gradebook notes, move the totals for the students to the front, and also Message Students Who. So that's the end of the top 10 tips and tricks. But if you want to learn more about Canvas, you can visit SRJC Distance Education at de.santarosa.edu. And if you specifically want Canvas tutorials, we have a page for that too. I hope you've learned some great tips and tricks in this Canvas Top 10 video.